not promising we're going to resolve this, by the way, because the conclusion I've come to is that, and I'm sure by the end of this we'll all agree this, is there is no perfect solution to any of this. Different clubs have tried different things. This club have tried different systems. When I was a kid, you used to cut the token off the back of the team, the programme, and you get a token for going to a reserve game, a youth team game. And also, how many times have I been at Main Road at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning, physically queuing for a ticket, and been there for 5, 6, 7, whatever it is, hours, and then been so relieved when I've got to the front of the queue and got a ticket. Now we have this system. This is just to explain for people who don't know, which is a point system. And basically, you accrue points on your membership card or your season card or whatever. And the more points you've got, generally when tickets are rare for away games, the higher number of points you've got, the earlier you get access to buy those tickets. And when the tickets have gone, then the people with the lower number of points or no points don't get a ticket. There are, of course, notable exceptions to that. There was a system that was drawn up a few years ago called the Superbia ticket, which has now been suspended, although I think there's still some people who have those, but you can't now get new ones. This is how I understand it. And that those people, by paying, I don't know, $3,000 a year or something like that, basically get all their tickets home and away guaranteed and already paid for out of that money. So they get first dibs, you can say. Then there is a chunk of tickets which go to the highest points I've just explained. There is a chunk of tickets that go to Supporters Club for them to distribute to their branches and to their members as they see fit. Then there is a chunk of tickets that go to corporate people. So that's the people who pay big bucks for boxes at the stadium, that type of thing, or Tunnel Club or whatever. There'll be some tickets that go to sponsors, so Etihad and people like that. Maybe Thomas Cook as a travel partner to be able to bring in people from overseas. And then finally, you've got a few tickets that will stay within the club for staff, for players' families, that type of thing. And so if you're starting with 1,000 at Bournemouth, for example, you can see how there's all little pockets of tickets that go in different directions. But in theory, the biggest single chunk goes to the highest number of points in the points scheme. Now, this, a couple of weeks ago, it was revealed, and I'm going to let Matty take over now, that there is now going to be a new system in place. Although, principally, what I've said is still going to exist. The way you accrue points is going to change, and there are going to be a few little extras, like you may have to go to a visitor's ticket office to pick up your ticket if you're selected at random, stuff like that. Now, Matty's on the City Matters Committee. Mm-hmm. He's a representative of the 18 to 25-year-olds. He rang me up this week and said, come on, we've got to talk about this. I'm getting stick on social media. So I said, Matty, of course you can have the platform. So, Matty, we're now going to sit back, and even though I might chip in one or two comments that people have made on social media because I've asked for it.
Please do.
The floor's yours. And ask these what their opinions are.
So obviously the three main changes that have caused the most response are there are going to be no ticket points for away games now. So you won't gain any ticket points by going to away games. The 18 to 25 group are going to have 5% of an allocation separate. So on the first day that tickets go on sale, anyone between 18 and 25 can apply, and it's first come, first serve. So whoever gets on there first. And it's 5%. So for West Ham, for example, I think it's around 150 tickets. Just on that point quickly, people made the mistake of thinking that 5% was coming out of the 60% of season ticket holders. That's wrong. It's 5% of the overall allocation. So it's not 5% of the 60% that goes to season ticket holders. And the last one that you mentioned there was there's going to be a small percentage of fans that have to collect at the destination, and that from the club's point of view is obviously to try and stop people touting tickets and selling them for a higher value at Man United away or whatever. So they're the main three ones. I think the response I've had from the 18 to 25 has been generally positive in terms of people saying it's good that younger fans are going to get a slightly better opportunity to go. I think we have about 4,000 season ticket holders in between 18 and 25, so 5% is not that much to me, and I'm sure people will disagree with it, and everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I'm obviously looking forward to hearing your opinions, because I can actually have a conversation rather than just reading Twitter comments. And I understand in this social media generation, people are obviously more inclined to talk when they're angry about something, and I urge anyone with an opinion to talk to me about it, not just spout rubbish on Twitter or be abusive. Actually have conversations with me or any of the other City Matters reps, because we are fans at the end of the day, and I don't want to be seen as like a fall guy for the club, because I'm a Man City fan through and through. I have been all my life. All I want to do is make positive change, and if that doesn't happen, then I want to fix that, and that's why I urge anyone to get in contact, because we aren't going to get everything right, and there is no one solution fixes all, not one bit. And anyone I've spoke to over the past few weeks who's had a problem or even been positive, I said, okay, so what do you think? What do you think is the solution? And all I get is, yeah, it is a difficult one. And I do get suggestions, but I think people, when you actually have a conversation with them, start to realise that you can't please everyone. But I want to put the floor to you.
Well, before you open up the debate, and let me ask you about the mechanics of City Matters, because I've had people contact me saying that they think that City Matters as a committee has been created by the club so that they can steamroller things through, because they can say, we have sat down with these group of your representatives, and obviously we're not party to what that conversation is. We don't hear it. It's not like it's streamed on YouTube or something like that, or there's a podcast of it. So we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. And
they do release minutes from the meetings, though, so you can see what the conversation was.
Well, that's for you to explain to the people who are listening to this, and that's why we've got you here. Yeah. And that they then feel that it's tokenism by the club. Is it?
Not at all.
Have they listened to you? What debates have you had?
We push back. People think that, like, for instance, the collecting at destination, that could have been a lot worse than what it was, but we push back. And what people have to realise is you have to compromise. As a fan, we can't just go in there and demand things and they're just going to go, oh yeah, we'll do that, of course. But we do push back on things and say, no, we don't agree with that. And every suggestion that comes up, if we think that's not to the benefit of most fans, we'll say, no, that's a bad idea, and we will want that in writing. We will want because at the start there was basically the minutes. The conversation gets minuted by someone at the club, and then they send it to us and say, okay, is this okay? And then they publish it on the website for fans to read. And at the start there was a few times where they said, oh, the City Matters Committee were delighted with this suggestion, and we had to say, no, that's wrong. Right. We didn't agree with that, and we will push back. So this suggestion that we're just in it with the club, and I've seen people say that I'm just in it for myself and stuff. That is absolutely nonsense.
I'm qualifying that to say that the criticism I've seen is not suggesting that any of the City Matters people, and I actually know a few, and I wouldn't, when you're talking about people like Andrew Bucknall, who I know is on that panel, Colin Savage, I think he's on that panel. Yeah. I know these people, I know you, and I know that you wouldn't just be a yes man or whatever. I know that, but what they're suggesting is that you may mean well when you have this heated debate, but then the club go, well, we have talked to these people and knew what they want anyway. Do you sense that?
I understand the point. And I think that was one of the worries at the start, and we made it clear to the club that there has to be transparency there with fans, so that they trust the process, so that they trust that the City Matters Committee are actually going to make positive change. And I do think they do listen to us. Some things they suggest and we say, no, don't agree with that. And there's some things we suggest and they say, no, we don't agree with that. But overall, I'd say there is good compromise and there is good conversation, and it does come to a good level of understanding between us and the club. Obviously, we can't make every change we want, because there's certain things that maybe fans don't even understand, that we don't until we go into the meeting, and then they explain it to us and we go, all right, well, we understand why that's the way it is now. But
well, let's pick the bones out of it bit by bit. Yeah. Let's start with one thing, and then once you've explained it, these two can come in and give their views as well. Mm-hmm. One of the suggestions is that there is now going to be a random selection process. So Paul, for example, or Will might have bought a ticket for, let's say, West Ham away. Now Will might go, I'm never going to get a ticket, but just let's, for the argument's sake, so that you two have both got a ticket for West Ham away. And it just so happens that through an email or something, Paul, you get told, I've got to go to the box office, I believe it's the box office of West Ham, and take some ID with me, and your ticket. And this is the reasoning behind this is to prove that you are actually the person who bought the ticket. Yeah. You're not selling it on blah 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 blah. Before you two come in with your views on whether am I right in that?
Yeah, that's nailed on. Yeah.
And is that why they've done it to try to eliminate
they
sales?
They basically want the tickets to go to the fans who are buying them, and that ties in with the away points. Is that people are buying tickets and of course I understand people buy them for their friends and family. It's not just people selling them on, and it is a small percentage, and I put that point across to the club that it isn't a large percentage of fans who are buying tickets to sell them on to other people. But again, people are buying them off other people because they can't access them themselves because they don't have enough points. And I understand that it's probably a small percentage who are selling them on to keep the points but sell the ticket. But for instance, Shakhtar last season, I think it was £5 a ticket. I think half the allocation that we sold actually went. So people are clearly just buying a ticket because it's a fight. They're buying points basically to keep up. And I think this is why I don't understand why it's a negative, because you shouldn't feel like you have to buy a ticket to keep up with everyone around you. And that's what we're trying to stop. We're trying to stop. People are saying that loyal fans are being shafted. Why? If you're at the top of the food chain already, you're not going to fall down. You know, if you're already on 20,000 points or whatever, you're still going to have first priority for any ticket. It's just we want that gap to be stopped, where the fans who are purchasing the tickets are buying and getting more ticket points, and the fans who can't access them are falling even further behind. So it's just about stopping that gap, making the gap shorter. That's all it is to me, and I don't understand. We go to away games to watch Man City, not to get ticket points. So I don't understand why.